Northern California.
You came down from the mountain where the crystal waters flow. No reason to consider company might show, but destiny would find you where you walked across the sand to leave a world divided. Did Roger film a Bigfoot or man? Where are you now, Patty?
Well, welcome, folks. It's that time once again for the Friday evening Bigfoot Radio. And now for the Bigfoot research teams from across the country. Welcome, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. I keep hearing the whistle of the boat way out in the Mississippi. Don't know what it's whistling at, but it must be whistling at something. Anyhow, everything's going good. How'd everybody going out there? Anybody have any Bigfoot research areas? And for anybody out there that wants to call up the show and have a Bigfoot experience, UFO experience, any weird type of experiences out there, you can call us up at 667-770-1476. And the participant code is 759314. Again, 667-770-1476. And the participant code is 759314. Almost got that screwed up. Ooh.
You did good.
How's it going, Chris? You sent me a picture of something, but I couldn't get on and even see about it. But I don't know what it was.
That picture, I believe, if you open it up more, and I sent it to Bruce and I sent it to Anthony, I believe it's a dog man. You know, when I'm going camping in April up on this mountain in the Berkshires. I go there quite often, and that was about 200 yards from where I camp. And I took that picture by accident. Actually, I was videoing my surrounding because I was hearing things, so I just did a panoramic view, whatever, around me, and I put it on my YouTube channel. And then all of a sudden, this lady that I know from Ohio, her name was Robin, she just loves going to people's videos and going through them and see what she can detect, not only for me, but for other people. And she goes, Chris, look at this. And she sent me that still shot of my video, and I never saw it, I never heard it, never smelled it, nothing. But it's kind of creepy because the way it looks with the ears sticking up, and it was watching me, and I know exactly where that spot is. So I'll go down there in April when I do, and I'll do a one day show. I will do 1 day on the show live. That's it. And then I'm putting the camera away. I'm not, I want to make contact with this family that's out there, forest people. And, I just don't want them to feel hesitant to come and see me. Because the last time I went, they brought their child and the parents were there, the male and the female, and their little one. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be from April 11th, because I get out of work for spring break, but the kids are out, so right. I get that time off. So I'll go from April 11th and spend 5 nights, 6 days, 5 nights there.
Yeah. By the way, tell everybody, how's the weather over there where you're at? You said something to me earlier about, I guess, where you're at, the governor or whatever says you had to stay off the street because it's going to snow or something?
Yeah, that piece of shit, Lamont. Yes, we got the storm Benjamin. It's coming this way throughout the whole country.
Wow.
It's coming from just past you, going right now, I guess, into Bruce's area in Arkansas. And it's going to be ice storm and snow. They're saying up to 2 feet. And starting on Sunday morning, Sunday at noon and going into Monday to 12. So this Benjamin, it's one of these storms that happen every 2 decades,
right.
So it's nothing to play around with. And he enforced that nobody's allowed on those streets on Sunday when it hits, because they need the plow trucks and everything to clear way, because it's going to be doing 2 inches. They're saying 2 inches an hour in some places.
Yeah, I spoke to Snake Man before we started to show up that he said something that they're getting ready for a snow blizzard to hit Arkansas where he's at, and he said something earlier that his lights kept flickering out, and I told him, well, it doesn't mean it's your electricity. It could be that maybe you got a loose light bulb or something.
Well, listen, I'm charging all my power battery for my cell phone. I'm charging everything I can, because if I lose power, I'm filling up the bathtubs, I'm filling up the sinks, loading up the dishes and pots and pans with water, because they're saying with the ice and everything, trees are going to be coming down and you're without power. So the place is getting nice and hot now, but it could be a week without power. So I'm making sure I'm doing everything I can, the flashlights, the whole bit. I just wish I had a gas stove. If I had a gas stove, then I could, still cook.
Right. I understand where you're coming from, because from what I understood by looking at the Weather Channel, this freeze is coming from the northern part, about maybe halfway down the United States, from the west coast to the east coast. And you're right, I've never seen nothing like this in my life. It almost makes me think that maybe, are we getting ready for another ice age or what? And then on the other hand, I've also did a lot of research. It seems like the solar caps are melting. Boy, I wonder if we're going to get into another flood again. If that happens, I'm going to have to build me a boat or find me a used sub or something somewhere.
Hey, look at it this way. If the power goes out, at least you have somewhere to put the groceries so they don't spoil.
Oh, that's true. I could put them outside in the ice. That won't let them spoil that way.
You're getting this now. You got to be getting some good amount of snowfall.
Me getting snowfall? You're funny. I wish.
No, Bruce.
Oh, Bruce. Yeah. Well, he's up in Arkansas. All I keep hearing is, we're waiting for it. We're waiting for it. Waiting for it. Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
I've known the weatherman to be very stupid at times.
Well, they said it's going to start about 11.
Oh.
Our time. So that's what we're waiting on. And it's going to go on all the way until like Sunday or maybe Monday. I'm not looking forward to that.
I'm not either. And I got to drive tomorrow, and I'm not happy.
I just want to watch the dogs when I let them out. Let them watch how they react to the snow.
Yeah, I could just see their face. Anyhow, you said something, you're going to do some Bigfoot research from the 11th to the 16th?
Yeah, I think it'd be, I've been there many times. And I posted my videos, and I sent you the video of the whistling that happened there when I brought that medium with me. We spent 5 nights up there, and Bigfoot came. The day we're coming down, last day we're coming down the mountain, and we're climbing over this stone wall that the revolutionary, like 200 years ago, they built these stone walls that they were dug out of the grounds because everything was deforested. They cut down every tree in New England, just about. This is a new fort. Wow. And they bring the rocks up and make these stone walls. And as we're climbing over the stone walls, she goes, "Chris, look at the bear over there." And I go, "Oh, yeah, that is a bear over there." And all of a sudden, this bear just stands up 8 feet tall. It was grayish red, looks at us, and turns to the right and just starts walking away. So I of course I don't have my phone on.
I'm like,
we're just going back
bear?
down
Why
to
would
the
a
car.
bear do that?
Yeah, why would it turns out? But no, it was there, and she was communicating because she was a medium with this Bigfoot. Believe it or not, I mean, I posted this stuff, so if you want to look for it, you can find it.
Right.
Anyways, it starts going away. So we're saying thank you, coming down the mountain, appreciate it. You know, thank you very much. And this was a Bigfoot in broad daylight. I'm talking 10, 11 o'clock. This was like in June or something. And this is where I'm going camping.
Wow.
And the last time 3 came, you know, so it's very active.
Wow.
And I'm hoping, because I was there at the cabin 3 miles away, that I was caretaker at this cabin up in the mountains.
Okay.
And these little ones that from 2008 to 2020 were little ones around there, and I think they're growing up, and they remembered me, you know, because they would come around the cabin with their parents and stuff. I think they're the ones that are going to be coming and visiting me. I have a gut feeling, because they had no fear, man. The little ones had no fear of making themselves known, you know. So I'm hoping it's going to be a nice, wonderful experience that I have, and that's why I'm going by myself. And I hope to have something to let you guys know all about. Make contact, physical contact, not just waiting.
You know, I had an experience like this. I told everybody before. Now, I lived back in Yuma, Arizona. I think it was back in 1980 when I moved out of California to Yuma, and I had a guy. I met him down at the park and stuff like that. We were talking about Bigfoot and everything else, and he said he had an experience something like that back in the 1970s, growing up in Trinity County, California. And I've been to Trinity County myself several times. It's beautiful country up there. And he said his family was outside sitting on the porch, and all of a sudden his kids were outside playing with, they thought was a neighbor. They peeped out the window, and he saw his kids, what he thought was they were playing with a bear, and they thought, uh-oh, something's up here. So he walked outside to shoot the bear off, and he said, when we got a close look, it wasn't a bear, it was actually a baby Bigfoot. And they were out there playing with the baby Bigfoot and everything else, and they said, right down from where the baby Bigfoot was playing at, the two parents of the Bigfoot was sitting there just watching him and everything else, and they saw the father come out, and the father just sat there and watched, and he said that he became so close with these creatures that it was like a daily routine with them. The children played with each other. He said it was uncanny, but he never had a problem with them at all.
Great story, Steve.
I was going to say, you're going to go to this area where the dog face has been spotted. I'd be careful with them because they're so unpredictable.
I have no, I can't. Did you look at the picture?
Yes, I did.
And I listen. I do not want to see that. Okay, I'm going to try to be careful, but there's no other choice. I mean, I'm not going to bring a pistol. The only thing I'm going to bring is my bear horn, my bear mace, and my Rambo knives that I always have. But you bring a pistol, and everything's going to be standoffish. They're not myself with me. They're not going to be where I want to have contact with them, and so I don't want them to have any fear. Mm-hmm. So that's the way I'm going at it. But yeah, you're damn straight.
All creatures, I don't care if it's a snake or a mountain lion or a bear, it doesn't matter what they are. As long as you don't show any fear, nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to say nothing eventually won't happen. I mean, every creature is different. They don't care if you're afraid or not. They may attack you, they may not. But in my situation, everything I've ever did all my life, even if it was in front of a bear or a cougar or a mountain lion, whatever, I've never been afraid of them. And it's like that incident I told you last week where I woke up early in the morning. I went outside the PG&E cabins up in Big Bend, California, and I turned around and I saw that mountain lion standing in front of me. I wasn't afraid of it, but when I took one step forward towards it, it took off like a bat out of hell. I don't think it was even expecting me to do that. I thought maybe it was expecting me to run or something.
Right. Right. No, I've seen two mountain lions now up there. Okay, we have them in Connecticut, the Eastern Mountain Lions. That they brought them in from somewhere in the early '70s into New York State to cull the population of deer. And they've made their way into Connecticut. So I've seen two in that area that I'm going to be twice. But that's not what I'm worried about. I mean, look, what Bruce said is, when you have a figure of a creature like that you have to look at, and you're there.
Like a dog?
I don't care if you're alone. I don't care if you're alone or with 10 people. Or whatever. You're looking at this thing and you're going, okay. You're seeing the muscles on its face and everything there, and your heart is palpitating. You don't know if is this going to be a bad interaction? Are you ready for this? This ain't no TV show.
I've never I've never ever seen a dog-faced Bigfoot before. When my cohort, Jan Allen, was alive, he always told me that maybe they put like this thing over their heads or something like that to make them look like they're a wolf or a dog or something like that. Until one day he said he got a close look at one, and he said it looked like a dog. He said, man, maybe he was wrong. He had to rethink what he said before. And I'm like, wow, I've never had that experience ever. I've seen Bigfoots, but I've never seen a dog Bigfoot or whatever you want to call it.
Well, brother, even when you're in front of encountering a Bigfoot, I mean, it is, your heart is pounding. I mean, when I went to Colorado, and I told you there were 7 of them, and not 2 of them 9, but 7 came in front of me, and 2 to my right there. I mean, it is, this world has the beyond belief that these things are here. They're here.
Hey, what's your?
Go ahead.
I was going to ask, what's your Rambo knife going to do to a dog face? Trim his nails?
Oh, nothing. I probably won't even get it out of my holster there, man. I mean, it ain't gonna do nothing. But if I can get it out and it's biting me, I'm gonna try to do something once, before I die. I'm gonna fight back, but I don't want to fight at all.
I would find a way to communicate with it.
That's what I'm gonna try. But I have no idea. Bigfoot's not a problem. I've dealt with them for years, man. 2008. This is not my first. That's why I go by myself. I know what I'm dealing with. The Colorado, Appalachian Mountains, like you're talking that guy. I wish I was on the show last week because I was in the Appalachian Mountains. I did a video on the Appalachian Trail in Virginia and so on in Anthony. I wish I knew. But anyways, I mean, with something like that, or I just sent you, I think, I don't know if you saw it, a video somewhere in the Virginia or your area where the security camera got a hold of this white, naked humanoid walking in their backyard. And it was, and I said, I'm going to send this to Bruce because this is like up his alley with paranormal stuff. And there's this thing walking in this guy, and the dog's barking like this, and the chickens are in the coop over there, and the wife is looking at it because they had several cameras around their home, and the husband comes up and says, what the hell is that? And he's going out there and talking about it. He didn't go outside because this thing was naked. It was thin, bald as the moon, and it was walking around in their backyard. First, it started creeping on 4 legs. And she's going, "Look, honey, look at this. What is that? What kind of animal is that?" And then it stood up, and you could tell it was a man, and very, very thin. And kept on walking in the backyard there. Bruce, you got to check the stuff that I send you, man. I mean, I sent you stuff. I send you stuff.
Check it out.
Quite often about paranormal things. So you
I will check it out.
Now,
But
Corson,
that's what I don't want to run into.
Yeah.
And I sent you also a picture. I sent you also a picture about a month or so ago, 2 months, of where I'm camping. There's a freaking blue skull in the tree.
Yeah, you told me about that one.
I
remember that. You sent us that picture.
Yes, Anthony. This is where I'm going to go. What is that doing there? I don't understand. Why is that there?
yeah,
Why is that blue?
Corson was just on, and then he fell off.
I'm sorry?
Snake Man invited this guy, Corson, on there with a 760 number, and he fell off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I don't know.
All right, let's wait then. Call him. Get him back.
It was Snake
And
Man.
just talk. Oh.
Snake Man may have...
Well, anyway.
Anyhow, go ahead.
All right. So anyways, what I'm saying is, and besides that naked guy walking around in a tall skin, which is pretty freaking terrorizing. I don't know if that or Dogman is worse, what I was watching. But the skull in the tree, I don't understand what the skull in that tree was there for watching me over there in that part. It was blue. And, and that was, that. I don't know. I can't explain it. And nothing's, speaking to me in my mind or letting me know, it's telling me that, hey, you get out of here or whatever. They're there. So, Anthony, did you look at the picture that I sent you, the dog man?
I didn't notice the picture until when the show started, but and I gotta get off the call so I could zoom in on it because I don't have a smartphone.
All right, I'm going to let you know that when that picture was taken, that was taken about, I would say, 4 years ago. 4 years ago. About 3 months earlier, I'm on the border of Massachusetts where I go camping in the Berkshire, where the Berkshires begin from upper Connecticut on the border of Massachusetts. 3 months earlier, there was a sighting reported of a dog man just over the border in Massachusetts. And I'm not saying it's the same one, but there was a sighting in western Massachusetts where it borders New York and Connecticut about that. True. That's what it was reported. I can't remember what BFRO or whatever it was, but yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that. Remember, I believe it was Jeff Meldrum, may he rest in peace. And one of his, when he analyzed the video of the Patterson Gimlin film, okay, and one of the things that I noticed when he reviewed the film was that as the creature is walking, he said he noticed that right before, when it's walking and right before it puts its foot down, he notices that it spreads its toes. Okay. And, they didn't notice that 50 years ago, but, with digitizing the photos today, that's one of the things that he noticed that, besides the muscle movement and you see the big hairy breasts and stuff like that. But that's another thing that I learned from him was that when the creature walks, it spread its toes. Okay. Now I bring that up because I found this interesting article. All right. And this was, in Long Island, New York. It's old, and this is before, they called it Bigfoot. All right. It's a short article, but I want to read this to you. It's two short paragraphs. Okay, and this is taken, all right, from Sackett Harbor in Long Island, New York. The reports say that in the vicinity of Ellisburg was seen on the 30th by a gentleman of unquestioned veracity an animal resembling the Yahoo or wild man of the woods. It is stated that he came from the woods within a few rods of this gentleman, that he stood and looked at him, then took his flight in a direction which gave a perfect view of him for some time. He is described as bending forward when running, hairy, and the heel of his foot narrow, spreading at the toes. Hundreds of persons have been in pursuit for several days, but nothing further is heard or seen of him. Okay, this was, so that's just one paragraph, and this was in the newspaper in September 16th. The year was 1818. Okay.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I just find that interesting that in 1818 they wrote about the spreading of the toes. So, there's an eyewitness talking about the spreading of the toes, and only the Patterson-Gimlin film, as far as I know, has that same thing, the spreading of the toes. And it was one of the things that Jeff Melton pointed out, while he's,
Now,
So,
we have a guest online. His name is Shane Corison. Shane, are you on?
I am here.
Yeah, Steak Man, why don't you introduce us?
Hi, folks. This is Shane Corson. You said that you work with the Olympian Project?
Yeah, I work with the Olympic Project out of Washington State.
For those that don't know what that is, would you mind explaining it to us?
Yeah, so the Olympic Project's been around since about 2008. It's a cohesive project where of like-minded individuals that are not out to prove Sasquatch exists per se. As many of us have had sightings, encounters, experiences. We're just about collecting data. That's what we've been doing for years. We work with many individuals, including Dr. Meldrum, who was a good friend of ours. We had him out many times, and many, many other individuals. But we're just about collecting data on something that we know exists, for the most part. We have skeptics in the group. We have a lot of biologists, a lot of academic individuals, but a lot of us are laymen like myself, where we just do field work and groundwork and collect data. So the Olympic Project's been around, like I said, since about 2009. And that's kind of what we're about. It's just collecting data on something that we know exists, that if one day it's proven to exist, we'll have so much, like a plethora of data and information available to those willing to look at it. And we currently are working with a lot of academics. I know a lot of people poo-poo on that, but I do not. I have a lot of good friends that in the scientific world that have had sightings, and many that have not, but they're interested. And at the end of the day, I just want a conversation about the subject matter. And that's what the Olympic Project is basically about.
Well, most of us, I think my first sighting of Bigfoot was back in 1966 up in Shasta County. And I keep telling everybody this, when you have a Bigfoot experience, when they look at you, it doesn't matter if you go to Shasta County, it doesn't matter if you go to Siskiyou County, Trinity County, Plumas County, all over. If you see a Bigfoot that looks at you, they can recognize right off the bat that you've been looked at before by another Bigfoot, so they've got nothing to worry about. It's like you've been imprinted by one.
Yeah, honestly, I can't speak to that. I know that county well. I grew up in Southern California. I'm up in Washington now. I live in Oregon, California, Washington. I have a brother that lives in Idaho. I travel around a lot, and I do a lot of different things. But my brother went to the University of Reading up there, so I've been through Reading and Whiskey Town and Shasta and all those areas, Bluff Creek, Red Bluff, and all those areas. I know them very well. Me personally, never had an experience out there. But I can't speak to that. I've only had one legitimate sighting up at Mount Hood up in Oregon back in 2011. And a couple of possible sightings through thermal equipment. So to each your own. But I don't know about all that. That's something I'm not experienced. Just been there, done that, and heard a lot of different stories and stuff.
The only time they actually ever come around is when you're by yourself up in the hills. That's when they usually make themselves known. If you're with a group of people, they don't hardly ever come out. But I've had experiences, like I said, Shasta County at least 4 times. One of them was Trinity County when I was camping on the Trinity River just outside a place called, it's a road that goes up outside of a Junction City called House of the Big People. That's the name of the road. I had no clue even why they even called it that until like a few years later. I was talking to a gentleman and they said, well, they call it the road House of the Big People because of these weird creatures that live up in the hills. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. And that's probably where I got my sighting at. And I'm the type of person, I don't push or shove the belief in Bigfoot. I know what I saw, but I mean, to each their own. Eventually, one of these days, they'll end up having an encounter of their own, and they're welcome to come on to the show and talk about it. But at the same point in time, when they do talk about it, all we ask them is to please do not give the location of where they saw the Bigfoot at. That way we can keep these species out of harm's way.
Right.
Because I know California right now is trying to pass a law saying that Bigfoot does exist. I hope that law passes, but I'm not sure yet.
Now, Shane, what would be your most memorable reaction with a Bigfoot sighting?
Oh, no doubt it would be the Mount Hood experience I had in August of 2011. I was with 2 other individuals on a remote backpacking trip, and we had a 2-night experience where the first night we had something come into our camp, and we're very remote, up in these high mountain lakes up in Mount Hood, and something came around our camp and was stomping around and beating a tree and clanking rocks and whatnot. And then, and that was it for the first night. The second night, actually, when I laid my eyes on it after it did the same thing, stomping around our camp, 2-night experience. This was supposed to be a 3 to 4 day hiking trip, fishing trip, and unzipped my tent and saw this thing standing behind a tree. And after I'd thrown a rock at our camp, and I'm giving the short of it, but it was a lengthy experience. But it was what solidified that they exist for me. You know, I'm good friends with Bob and you know, Bob Gimlin and the gang now, after the fact, way after the fact. But this solidified it for me that Sasquatch exists. You know, and I mentioned Bob only because, you know, even back then I was kind of 50-50 if Sasquatch existed. I wasn't really sure. I spent a lot of time in Yosemite and the Sierras and Trinity and all those areas, up and down California. Never had an experience, and finally had a sighting, and it wasn't even out doing anything Bigfoot related. I was just out on a fishing trip with a couple of buddies, and we had quite the encounter. And I got, you know, fortunately laid eyes on this thing, and solidified the existence and led me to join the Olympic Project and pursue this further, wanting to know more about this subject matter.
Yeah, I've spoken to Bob Gimlin more than once on Facebook. We just sent texts back and forth to each other. Been wanting him to get on the show, but he I don't know if he was wanting. He had said he'd do a private interview with me, but I never did pursue it because I figured he was a busy person, and I don't like you know, getting out there when a person is busy. I figured when he wants time to get on talk, he will, you know.
Well, Bob's health's not doing good. It's just not doing good. So,
yeah, he's up there.
I think he's focusing on his health.
Yeah, did you ever work with J.C. Johnson?
Did I? I'm sorry.
J.C. Johnson used to work with Tom Biscardi. Oh.
Yeah, I never worked with JC. I know the name. We had, you know, via social media had contact back in the day, but I've never worked with him. Don't really know a whole lot about him, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's gone now. He passed away.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
The only
Yeah.
ones I ever
I don't love
the only
hills.
ones I ever talked to about Sasquatch are either the Native Americans, which are up in Northern California, the Hoopaw Reservation, or there's another reservation. I can't think of their names. They're out there outside of what is it, Wairika somewhere, and
Like the Hoopa?
she lives on the Hoopa Reservation, but I can never remember her name. But she's told me quite a bit about her people and how they grew up around the Sasquatch legend and how her kids used to go out and play with theirs. And to them, it's a normal life. They don't attack people or nothing like that. It's more or less their people get along with the Sasquatch people, and I don't call them creatures all the time. I call them the hairy people because that's what they are. They have their own language.
I have a question for earlier when you mentioned that they were stomping around in your campground. Do you kind of felt like they were walking, or that they were intentionally stomping the ground?
Oh, well, so Mount Hood, the ground up there is so, there's so many roots and stuff, it's very hollow. So you can hear something coming from quite a distance. So, having not viewed it, I assume it was just stomping around or walking around, something of weight walking around. And again, I don't know because I didn't see it. So I can only go off my experience, something walking around at, 2:00 in the morning, in the middle of nowhere, that it was walking around. Because there's a little bit of a trail in this area, and you can hear, even people walking down this trail. Whatever this was walking off trail and stomping around or walking around. I call it stomping, but it could have been just walking, depending on the weight. But there were sticks, and it was encircling our camp. So its intention, like I said, quite a lengthy story as to why I think this happened. And the reason I think it happened is because we had gotten lost earlier that day off trail up on this ridge line. And I think we just walked into their backyard above this lake in a remote area and disturbed them. And that's why we had a 2-night experience, because you don't hear that too often. A 2-night experience in a remote area. You hear about a 1-night stuff. And the second night I decided to open my tent up and look around. And that's when I actually saw what I saw. So, I think its intention was, at the time I would say, oh, super aggressive. Now looking back and having experienced other things, no, it wasn't aggressive. It was just like, get out of here. It was more of a passive aggressive and not really aggressive.
I think the reason why they tossed the rocks, and I don't think it's because of, hey, get out of here, or you're bothering our stomping grounds or anything like that. I think the reason why they toss the small pebbles and rocks is because they're trying to get attention, to let them know, hey, we're here. I mean, that's
This was a softball sized rock. Yeah, no, I agree. This was a softball sized rock, because I heard it come through the trees, and both my partners were awake and they heard it. It was about a softball. We found the rock the next day because it was right next to my buddy's tent. It landed in the mud next to some skunk cabbage next to the lake.
Yeah.
It was a softball-sized rock. It did miss the tent, but I agree with you. I think it was more of a come out of your tents, we want to see you, or just get out of here, something to that nature. But easily, if there was more rocks thrown, could easily hit our tent, and it did not. It was just the one that came through there.
Yeah, I've seen these things 9 times. The first time I saw it when I was a kid, I must have been at least 6 years old. And this was up in Shasta County, California. My mom and dad's house was the first house built on this Native American hunting ground. So I could go out in the backyard. I'd found arrowheads and everything in the back. And I think it was about 1966, we went to bed, and it was lightning and thundering outside with a lot of wind, but there was no rain. And every time the lightning would flash through my curtains, I kept seeing this weird looking shape of, looked like a giant medicine ball coming through the window. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, wait a minute, there's no tree there. So I open up the curtains, and here's this big giant looking face staring right at me. The eyes were glowing red, at least they looked like they were red. The nose, everything on the whole head was hairy, but the teeth didn't look anything like an animal's teeth. The teeth look almost human-like. And I'm sitting there afraid as hell. I closed the curtain, I went up underneath the bed, and I stayed there all night long. Now, if it was an aggressive Bigfoot, it would have broke the window, put its hand inside, and grabbed me. It didn't. And all these years growing up, I keep thinking to myself, these creatures cannot be aggressive as everybody say they are. There's just something about these hairy people that, has some sort of understanding. It needs to be researched a lot. It really does.
Has your organization done the correlation between Bigfoot, the Dogman, and the skunk ape yet?
Well, so quite honestly, I'm not a big fan of the Dogman. I've never researched it. I've never run into them. I've been in multiple. I'm born and raised in Scotland. I used to live in Scotland, and then I moved to the States in '93, knowing that there was possible Sasquatch, but never actually, 100% believer at that time. I've never run into a Dogman or anything like that. Skunk ape. I'm very fascinated with the skunk ape because I have friends in Florida. I have friends in the South and the East that claim to have seen them. Dogman. I knew Linda Godfrey really well and interviewed her years ago before she passed on my show Monster X way back in the day. She coined the name, Beats of Berry Road. Yeah, I'm been around the block.
I've talked to her before. Yeah. I know exactly who she is. I'm from South Florida, and I had a face-to-face encounter with a skunk ape.
Okay.
I never.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, I never had a face encounter with a skunk ape, even though I was in Florida once. Never once had one. The only encounters I had were maybe 9 encounters. One was, like I said, by my bedroom window. The other one, after I graduated high school, was like 2 of them up at, I think it was, not Shasta Lake, Whiskey Town Lake, up where the French Gulch turnoff is at, off of 299. And then another experience was up in the Trinity County, up off of 299 over by Junction City. I had one in Plumas County, which I thought was a guy wearing a fur coat. This is during the summer. I'm sitting right on the lake. I'm doing this survival thing. I'm laying down underneath a bunch of trees next to the lake, and I see this guy, what I thought was a guy with a fur coat on in the summer, and so I just yelled out. I said, "What idiot would wear a fur coat in the summer?" This thing turns around, looks at me, and my mouth dropped and hit the floor. I'm like, "Oh shit, this can't be right." It's like, and it looked at me and it walked right into the woods. It didn't bother harming me or nothing. Another time, twice in Butte County, California, and what was it? There was another few times outside of Shasta. Yeah, another time was off of Branstetter Road, outside of Redding. That was uncanny. I saw the footprints. I took the pictures of the footprints. I put it on my YouTube channel, and it's weird how these things just walk on blackberry thorns without even yelping or anything like that. But better feet than I do. And then the last one I saw was in 2015 up in a place called Big Bend, California. I was with my friend Chris Contreras, and I was doing a follow-up on his experience up there, and I was speaking to, I think it was a PG&E person that takes care of the cabins up there, something like a ranger. And I asked him about it. I just came right out and asked him. He says, "Oh, yeah, we get those up here all the time." And I looked at the guy and said, "Seriously?" And he says, "Yeah, we get screams up there. They've had so many creatures come walking through here, and they don't bother people." I'm like, wow. He said, "The last time that I was up there, I think it was a week before after I took off, they said they had an albino through the PG&E camp." I'm like, oh, geez. All this time when I go to take off, they show up. Jeez.
The experience that I had with the skunk ape was a very close encounter. I've actually touched it. And it followed me out of the woods when I was hunting. When I was 14 years old, I was hunting squirrels. And I didn't even know it was behind me until I got all the way back up from the swamp over by St. John's River in St. Augustine, Florida. And it followed me all the way from the swamp up to the land where my dad was sitting around the bonfire with my uncle and cousins. And I came up the land, and I was like showing my dad the bag. I said, "Hey, I think I beat you because we had a hunting contest." And I made it all the way up there to my dad. I said, "I think I got you beat." And he said, "Whatever you do, when you turn around, do not freak out and turn around slow." And he eased down and put his drink down. He picked up his cubine and pulled the hammer back on his Red Hawk. And I turned around, and there standing in front of me was this big, huge figure, and it was an arm's length away from me. And we looked at each other like, "What the hell are you?" And we tilted our heads at the same time, like a dog would tilt his head when you blow a dog whistle. And I was like, "What are you?" And he was looking at me the same way, like, "What the hell are you?" I reached over and I brushed his chest with my fingers. And then he stepped back and grunted at me, cocked his head and looked at me. I looked at him. And then he decided to run. And when he ran, he disappeared. After dropping to all fours, he disappeared back into the woods.
Okay, well, let's take a commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Your underarms are under attack. Harsh deodorants are bullying your body and choking your pits.
See you later, nerd.
Don't sweat it, Mike. I've got something that'll turn those bad pits into Brad pits. What's in the box? Trash your old deodorant and give BO the boot with Dr. Squatch Natural Deodorant for Men. Featuring an odor squatching system tough enough to tame your manly musk all day long. And scents that'll give you the most popular pits in town. Want to smell like a mountain? Try Alpine Sage. Want to smell like a waterfall? Splash Fresh Falls. Want to smell like a sexy pirate drunk on your own scent? Boom! Bay Rum, we've got you. Click the link to ace your scent with Dr. Squatch. All right, class. Today's lesson, Stink 101. Teach me, sensei. Sweat is a natural process, but it turns your underarms into a cafeteria for bacteria, feasting on your sweet, sweet sweat, causing BO. What about these yellow stains? Antiperspirants use aluminum to try to trap sweat. But you can't stop nature. The sweat that sneaks out mixes with the aluminum. It makes it look like your shirt peed its pants. But what it does to your body is much worse. Oh no, he's back! This toxic bully suffocates your pits, trapping waste, parabens, and glycols inside. Like a fart in a locker. Stop covering yourself with aluminum. You're not leftovers. You're a man. Yes, and what are the glycols? Glycols are petroleum-based greaser found in antifreeze and most synthetic deodorants.
And remember, what goes on your body also goes in your body.
Thanks, wise janitor. Dr. Squatch Natural Deodorant absorbs your sweat and neutralizes BO with our odor system of pit-friendly ingredients like charcoal, arrowroot powder, and probiotics to turn your armpits into charm pits. Most natural deodorants fail the test for active, hard-working men. For extra credit, some can cause rashes and smell worse than BO. And what's the point of natural if it doesn't stay fresh? It's time to graduate from midday meltdowns, pee-stained pits, and chemical chaos wreaking havoc on your body. With Dr. Squatch, these pitfalls are history. Any questions? Yes, I smell amazing. Not a question, Mike. But yes you do. Click the link to get the best natural deodorant delivered to your door and join hundreds of thousands of Squatchers helping to create a better smelling world, one pair of pits at a time. How do you say boom?
And we're back.
So, hey, Shane, what did you think of that encounter?
The last encounter? Yeah, I mean, your encounter, yeah, I mean, that's, It's one of the things where it's personable. I wasn't there, so I can't describe your feelings, what you saw, what your dad saw, but that's a profound sighting. And
there was 5 witnesses.
Oh yeah. I'm not discounting it whatsoever. I have actually a good friend that lives in the UK that had an encounter in Florida while on vacation in Florida. That saw I don't know if it's a skunk ape, that's what they call them back there, but saw a Sasquatch outside a resting area where they went to stop for a leak, hit the bathroom.
Yeah.
And so he had quite the sighting as a young man, and he's my age now, in his 40s, and it stuck with him.
Mm-hmm. I can't help but wonder, why do they pick the teenage adolescent kids to usually show themselves so that they can be seen? This one followed me on woods. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I think a lot of, really easy things there would be that a lot of teenage and younger kids spend a lot of time in the woods. I know I did. As soon as I came to the States from Scotland, I was in the woods all the time, though I never had the experience. I've interviewed thousands of witnesses over the years, and I think it's just kids spend a lot of time in the woods, and they're doing interesting things. They're laughing, they're playing, they're kind of like TV for the woods if something's out there watching. So for me, it's kind of easy. Whereas us adults, we're in the woods, we're on a mission, we're hiking, we're hunting, we're doing this or that. But humans in general are very predictable, and so kids are very unpredictable in a lot of ways, and they're fascinating to watch. If you're a creature in the woods or something of that nature, kids are laughing and playing and having fun. So it's kind of like entertainment, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Have you heard of many people actually reaching out and touching one?
No, actually, no, I really haven't. I've heard of individuals being pushed over, knocked down, but over the years, very few and infrequent, but usually it's somebody ending up on their butt. But I've not heard of too many individuals being touched by one or of that nature, no.
I've never touched one before in my life. I've never really been all that close. The closest I've ever been to a Bigfoot was maybe about, I don't know, maybe 50 feet away from one. I was at this is the last time I saw a Bigfoot, and it's like every time you see a Bigfoot, you get more used to it, more used to it, more used to it. And I'm not afraid of them no more like I used to be when I was a kid. The last one I saw was back in 2016 up in Big Bend, California, on the Pitt River, where there's this old looking, that the river goes through this. It's like a giant plant where it makes electricity or something like that. And I'm sitting on one side of the river, it's sitting on the opposite side of the river, but it's got its head and everything up underneath what looks like a rooted tree stump out of the water, while the other part of the stump is still inside the ground. And it has its head up underneath the stump, and it's got its arms crossed like I guess it's trying to hide from me or something, and the rest of the body's in the water. And I'm looking at this thing, and you can tell it's moving back and forth. And I've got these glasses. They're called camera glasses. They got the lens in the middle of them. You can't tell if they're a camera or not. They're just like regular glasses. I was going to take a picture of it. It's like the camera glasses were dead, but I know I charged them up the day before I went out there. And I'm like, what the heck's going on here? So I looked at this creature, and I just, in my own words, I'm going to come back for you, and I'm going to get a picture of you. And it looked at me with its head tilted like, huh? And so I got in my Jeep, and I took off. Well, when I took off to go back to the cabins where I was staying with Chris, I took the glasses out, and they were working. I couldn't figure that out. It was weird. It's like they have something about them that I've had a friend of mine say that he'd put like what's it called, game cams on the trees to take pictures of these things, but they avoid the game cams altogether. Now, before Jen Allen died, he said they may have a tendency of smelling the battery that's inside of these game cams because if you put your nose up to the game cam, you can actually smell the battery. And I'm like, I never thought about it that way. Maybe their sense of smell is a lot more stronger than ours. Maybe they can smell things where we can't.
I don't think it's the smell, Steve. It's the energy that illuminates from the batteries that they can feel. That they can sense the energy. For all the cameras I had around my cabin, 13 of them, they knew exactly from the energy. And that was a question also I asked to a medium about that, and she was saying the energy, but the bears smell it or something, like you're right. But I got a question for Shane myself. Shane, my name is Chris Marola. I appreciate you coming on the show, and Bruce, you did a good job. Shane, you talk about data. Now, on the data that you collect, is it data that you want to collect from people's experiences in talking, or also the data that you collect from, let's say, from species or prints or hair and that? Explain about your data.
Yeah, all the above. All the above. So the Olymp Project doesn't ambulance chase anymore. We have about 3 core areas we research. We just stay in those areas. We want everything we can about the known animals in that area. I mean, we've done, in 2020, we recorded every single night for over a year. And we're still recording in multiple areas. And we recorded every single animal, every single percussive, knock sounds, every single suspect sound, everything. And we documented, put it into a spreadsheet to find patterns of predictability. And we found a lot of predictability. So when it comes to data collection, we're collecting it all. You're talking about moon phase. We're talking about the temperature, the barometric pressure, the elevation, the time of year, the seasons. So we're, when it comes to data collection, I don't think you can do enough, quite honestly, even if you're talking about a known animal, let alone about a Sasquatch. And so we're just learning as much as we can about the known animals, let alone the Sasquatch. And so we're collecting everything. Eyewitness accounts and all that, but we're not the BFRO. We're not any of that. We've been there, done that. Many of the individuals in the Olymp Project have been a part of the BFRO, and some still are. We have a lot of biologists and stuff that are really interested in the actual data that can be collected. We have archaeologists, we have biologists, we have anthropologists, primatologists involved. So we're collecting everything we can on not just the ungulates like deer and elk in these areas, but about the terrain, the weather patterns, the shifts of the seasons, of the plant life, how it grows, when it dies back, all that stuff. So it's quite a process. It's a lot of fun, and we have men and women involved in this that are from all different backgrounds that are just intrigued, in some cases, just intrigued by this phenomenon, whether they've had an encounter or not. And many of them have, some have not, but they've seen enough to look into this further. And so that's kind of what we're about and what we're collecting.
Yeah. Now here's an audio. This is from Washington State, back during the 1970s, I believe.
Yeah, that one sounds very familiar. I can't place where it was at, but I do believe that was Washington. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, that was a Washington State. That's one of the very first one that was, I think, according to Washington State authorities, that was the most truest Bigfoot scream ever recorded on tape. And now there's one more I
Right.
got for you. It's from my cohort that used to be my co-producer, which was Jan Allen. He sent me one. If I can find it here. It has him talking, and this was back in Georgia somewhere. Let me see if I can find this thing. I think you heard it before, Chris. I'm not here. It is right here.
Yeah. Great.
Now this is Jan Allen talking.
Walking up the road, one of the many roads. Want to see if yesterday we had some sounds, but we're in a different area. Do what? What direction? No, I didn't hear it up here. I didn't hear it. Ren and Jeff heard a growl back off the other way. Probably, I don't know, they're probably about 40 yards from me now. I didn't hear it. I was talking at the same time. Trying to get a response or anything. If I can get a response back from something. Holy shit. The hell was that?
There you go. That was one of Jan's recordings. That was back in, I believe it was 2017.
What about the roll call? Do you have that one?
Roll call. Isn't that the one that, the heck was that? Mary Catherine? No, that was Mary Catherine that sent me that one.
Was it?
Yeah, it was Mary Catherine's. Let me see.
I thought Mary Catherine's was the dog.
No, I couldn't find that one, but it's probably on the other show page I had that I quit using because of Mr. TV. I didn't want to get involved in that idiot no more.
Yeah.
Let me see. Roll call. Here it is, right here. This is funny. I've never heard of a Bigfoot do this before, but she said it was a Bigfoot. There you go. It said roll call. That's uncanny. And then there's one other one, if I can find it. This is another one from her. It's tree banging, I think. And then there is one more. If I can find it. Bigfoot communicate. No, this is one from my friend that lives up in Canada. His name's Mike. I don't want to play that one. That one takes forever. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. I've got so many of hers that she sent me are not even funny. Oh, I gotta look at which one's what. Banging the tree. Oh, here's one. It's a howl. You hear the dogs in the background, but you hear the howl as well. That's a little scary.
What do you think of that?
Oh yeah, no, super interesting. I mean, many of these sounds are very familiar to me because, not the showboat or anything, but the Olymp Project has built up quite a library of sounds. David Ellis and Chris Spencer of the Olymp Project, we record, and myself included, and others record loads of audio, and we vet them visually through a spectrograph on a program like Sonic Visualizer. So we're looking at the audio, comparing them to known animals, to whatnot. So we're visually looking at the signatures that these animals give off, and then when something sticks out, it sticks out like a sore thumb. So we compare them to programs like the Macaulay Library of Sound, and we have just a ton. We have categories, singing and this and that of sounds, that we used to share with people like Dr. Meldrum, and then Dr. Meldrum by no means is a audio expert or was an audio expert, but there's a few people in this field that are, and you look at people like Ron Moorhead, who's good friends with the Olymp Project, who recorded the Sierra sounds. We recorded those in other areas.
I have the Sierra sounds. He sent me those a long time ago. And I'm also friends with Ron Moorhead. I like him a lot. And I like one of his books that he wrote about Bigfoot. What is it called? The Quantum Bigfoot, I believe.
Yeah. So we have a lot of different stuff. So we're just building up a library of different things, whether it's physical, audible, and whatnot, for consumption. I'll be honest with you, it's not all public, out there for the public. A lot of stuff's in-house.
Right.
Because we're very, we go about our business, how we go about our business, and we don't, the way social media works is we don't want arguments. We don't care about that.
Right.
Putting stuff out there for the public consumption for them to eat up and argue about and throw it back at you. We're about just building this database and letting those that are interested looking at it.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Western Washington. I live in Belfair, Washington, up here just on the east side of the Olympics of Washington State.
Yeah, because the reason I asked you, your area code is about where my area code is. That's like, wait a minute, he's in Imperial County, but yet he's in Washington. That's weird.
Yeah, 760. So I moved from Scotland. I grew up in Scotland. Moved to San Diego in '93, and I've had that phone number, the 760 area codes, since like 95, 96. I just never dropped it. So, but I grew up in California. I lived down there for many years. In fact, I was just down there spent a lot of my time up and down the San Bernardino Mountains, the Cleveland National Forest, Yosemite, the Sierras, before I met my wife and moved up to Oregon and started doing research up in Oregon and eventually landed in Washington State.
Yeah, Oregon's beautiful if you can handle the rains up there almost every year. I mean, the only summer Oregon ever has on July and August, and then the rest is all rain.
Yeah, it's the same with Washington, but I love it because growing up in Scotland, it's the same. It's on the same part of the equator where it just rains, but I love it because it's always green. There's always food to be found. If I was an individual that had to live off the land, it'd be very easy up here, and it's very temperate. Where I live, very temperate. We do get some snow. We do get cold. Like right now, it drops down. This morning I woke up and it was 27 degrees. Nothing like what they're dealing with back east, So it's very temperate.
Yeah, I like Washington. I like Oregon. I thought if I ever moved anywhere, it would either be Washington or Oregon. Oregon and Washington are two of the most states in the world anybody can survive in. It's real easy up there, except for the cold weather. You'd have to really get used to that part if you're not used to it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Shasta County mostly all my life growing up, so I'm used to the nice, cool weather. I want to get the hell out of this heat down here. I'm right next door to Yuma, Arizona, and I do not like the heat at all. I want to get the hell out of here.
No, I used to work when I lived in San Diego. I used to work in the Mojave. I used to work around Joshua Tree, 29 Palms. I know the heat well, and I enjoy my coolness up here.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like cold air. When you're in cold climate, your body tends to last longer. When you're in hot air, you don't last that long down here at all.
Well, I'm from Florida, so I'm used to the heat, not the cold.
I'm glad for you.
Oh, you're used to the humidity.
I'm glad for you, Steve.
Yeah. Now,
if I want to get into humidity, I'll go up to Northern California where I know there's a lot of sulfur hot springs, and when it's snowing, I'll just hop into a hot spring and stay there.
Now, Shane, would you say that the majority of your witnesses are hunters or outdoorsmen, or what would you say?
Oh, no, the vast majority of the witnesses are people on the road driving. That's the vast majority of my witnesses are people just driving a highway like the 101 that encircles the peninsula and all the way down to Southern California. That's the vast majority.
So like vacationers and state troopers, stuff like that?
Yeah, just vacationers, everyday people, UPS drivers, mailmen, vacationers, all the above. Because you look at the sighting reports, and it stands to reason, it's not rocket science, is that there's more people on the roads driving. And when you're in some of these areas like the 101 up here in the Olympics specifically, you're going to see something at some point in time, bears, elk, and then occasionally a Sasquatch. So the vast majority are people on the road driving. Secondary would be people just out hiking or camping. Hunters would be third. I do get, but, when it comes to people relaying their story, it's far and few between. I think the percentage is like 10% of people that actually have a sighting ever share it. I think Peter Byrne talked about that, Grover Krantz, and many of the old guard used to talk about the sightings. Look at loggers. I know a lot of loggers up here. I've got to know them well, and over the years, I've gotten stories out of them. Many of them are very hesitant for obvious reasons. They don't want to be looked at as ludicrous or crazy. Many of the stories I've gotten are fantastic, but there's so many more to be shared if people are willing. And over the years, it's gotten a little easier, but some people are still hesitant to share them.
Yeah, there's
I bet you
my
got a
friend of mine up in, what was it? The one I said before, Chris Contreras. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. We've done a radio show together. I did a lot of background research for him and his encounters as well. He worked for the California Conservation Corps, and he said just when he was getting ready to graduate, he went to a place up in, what was it, outside of Wairika somewhere on the coast, and they went into this Forest Service, I guess was like retreat or something like that, and they were having a conference there or something like that for the graduates of the California Conservation Corps. And one of the Forest Service members got on top of the what you going to call a pulpit or whatever it was, and he asked, has anybody here ever heard of a Bigfoot before? And Chris was sitting there. He wanted to put his hand up, but he didn't because he felt hesitant of doing it because he didn't want to be the only one there putting his hand up. And he said half the room put their hand up, and he said, well, heck, if they're going to do it, he did it too. And he said that the forest ranger did say, yes, They do exist, but we do not want the campers out there to know about it, because if we do, we will lose our something to do with their camping, the people coming out enjoying the mountain and the wilderness and stuff. And when he heard the ranger say that, then he knew for a fact right then and there that the forest department is trying to hide everything about Sasquatch.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that a lot of the forestry people would be good witnesses to talk to, because I bet you they give you some good stories.
Now, I do have an interview on my YouTube page where I'm doing an interview with a guy that had a friend who has I think it was a Bigfoot encounter back during the 1980s or something like that up in Butte County, California.
So I got a question about the data. It seems like I heard you say you collect a lot of, recordings and stuff like that, and you're just adding on to all that stuff. But the part of your collection, do you go to archives from old newspapers and stuff like that? And do you do data? Do you add that as part of your data collection, or you just more modern as far as getting all your?
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Absolutely. I think that's super important. In fact, we've been working on a nest site. We did not find it. Was found by a timber surveyor, timber cruiser, that found this nest site. And lo and behold, there was a nest found in Bluff Creek and that many people aren't aware of. I didn't know anything about nests until 2015. And so I started doing research on nests as a possible Sasquatch thing, and lo and behold, there's been multiple nests found, whether it's Paul Freeman in the Blues or Northern California, Alaska, Canada, you name it. There's been nests found, and almost certainly found by people involved in the timber agencies because they get way off trail. Areas that people don't hike to, they don't hunt because there's no trails and whatnot. But as far as data is concerned, oh yeah, we have to. It's important, knowing individuals like Bob Gimlin and Peter Byrne and Grover Krantz and Renee DeHenden, all these guys, your Meldrums that have done so much legwork. It's important to me. It's important to the organization that I now run that we look at the history. And even through the Native Americans, which we've done at length, and I know many of them, many different tribes and different nations, that we look at the plethora of data out there, the history, and include that and build upon that. And it's created quite a picture. It's amazing. I wish science would do that, but, as we all know, science is last of the game. We're usually the ones leading this stuff, unfortunately, as laymen, because I'm not a scientist. And they catch up later on, but we do all the legwork. But it's important for us, and we do that, collect all that historical data and information and include that in what we're doing.
Well, it's like Dr. What's her name? Goddell, or I can never remember that name. I don't even know how to pronounce it. What's her name, Chris?
Jane Goodall.
Yeah, Jane Goodall. She, back in the time, everybody said, well, the ape didn't exist. And then it took us almost 100 years to prove to the world that the great ape did exist. Now we're trying to do the same thing with Bigfoot to let everybody know, hey, they do exist. But like I said, you got a lot of naysayers out there. But I knew, as a kid growing up, I knew Ivan and Peggy Marks real well. I grew up with them all my life. And it's like the movie that Ivan made. It wasn't a movie about something that was real. It was a movie of the steps that he took in order to find this creature known as Bigfoot. It was a documentary, and I believe that 100%. Now, in his old stomping grounds, which is Bernie, California, they do have a mountain there. It's called Bernie Mountain. You can't miss this thing. As soon as you come right off the hill of 299, down into the valley, you see this big giant mountain in front of you with all these trees around it. That's called Bernie Mountain. That mountain has so much Bigfoot activity every single year, it's not even funny.
Shane, I got a. Go ahead.
The Olympic project or the Olympia project?
The Olympic, like the Olympic Mountains up here. So, like the Olympic Mountains, not Olympia. Olympia is the capital. Well, Salem is, but Olympia is. I'm about an hour and a half away from Olympia. It's the Olympic project, like Olympic Mountains.
So there's an old newspaper called Olympia Echo, and they had published something back in the 1800s about, the sightings in their paper. A wild man in there. The area.
Yeah. So Olympia is next to an area that is just profound because they're close to the Chehalis area, the Chehalis Reservation. In fact, there's been many tracks found down in those areas. That area's got a lot of history. Now it's kind of blown up via humans, but there's a lot of forest out there. So Olympia is an amazing little area that I traverse periodically, but I mainly, in my organization, mainly focus on the Olympic Mountains, which is northwest of there, which is visited by many people. It's a profound area. It's got the highest concentration of Roosevelt elk in the world, and so it's just such a beautiful area.
That's up in Washington, right?
Yes, yeah.
You're not too far away from what they call Ape Canyon.
Oh, I've been there. I've worked with Mark Marcel. I've done work on Ape Canyon. Mark Marcel found the Ape Canyon, the 1924, the story of the miners, Fred Beck and them up there, and that were attacked. And my buddy Mark Marcel found the cabin, and I've been there. It's a profound area.
They made a movie about that. I think it was a real research movie team that went up there back in the 1970s, and I guess most of them were attacked and all their equipment was broke and everything, so they left and got out of there.
Oh, it's I don't know if I'm familiar with that one, but it's I've spent many nights up there up at Ape Canyon, and it's just a great area. I don't think
there's anything to really worry about. I mean, if you go up there and you make yourself known to them, I don't think they're going to bother you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't ever worry. I spend many nights out in the woods by myself and in remote areas. I don't, it's what I do is I have a healthy respect for everything. Black bear, mountain lion, we have it all up here.
Yeah.
I have a healthy respect for animals. I have a healthy respect for what people can do, because people are weird and they end up in weird areas. And growing up in California, I ran into scenarios where I ran into people and it was nefarious stuff. So the end of the day is I just have a healthy respect knowing that I'm not in my environment. I'm in their environment, whether it's Sasquatch, bear, cougar, and I've bumped into them all. I've been bluff charged by black bear, name it.
I've never been bluff charged by a black bear at all, but I will say this. When I was a child, my mother and father I think they were camping upside of what they call Crater Lake at the time. This is back during the 60s. And my mother said I was outside playing with a black bear. I don't remember this, but my mother does. And she said when she saw that, she went out, she grabbed me, put me inside the trailer and shut the door. And I'm like, Mom, don't you think shutting a door wouldn't keep a big giant black bear out? I mean, a black bear could just rip the door off like it was nothing. But I guess I've always had a thing with nature. I mean, I can walk up to a cougar, not afraid of it. I've never been charged by a cougar. They just look at me and run the other way. I've never had problems with bears. I like bears. Bears are cool. I wouldn't mind having one for a pet, but you know how California is. Oh, you can't have a wild animal for a pet. I'm like, and it's like the last ranger I spoke to when I saw this mountain lion, he said, well, it might not. The reason why the cat didn't attack you is because one, you weren't afraid of it, and he said the other reason is the cat's probably never seen somebody that was 7'4" before. I don't know.
Shay, I got a question to ask you. I lived in a cabin for 12 years, and I had a family of Bigfoots that stayed in my area. I wrote a book about it. The book I wrote was, I'm an author. It was called The One That Runs and Hides. And just like you were saying, people didn't want to talk about it and so on like that. I was the opposite, but I wasn't ready for the negativity coming at me and with family and friends. It was brutal, but my first day going up there and bringing my 8-year-old son with me at the cabin was an incredible experience of frightness, because this family was not happy that I intruded on their property. But anyways, they got to know me as a person and seeing me there, because I wasn't leaving. And I didn't know in the beginning what was out there at all. I didn't think Bigfoot was around here. I thought it was only out west and with the Patterson-Gimlin thing in there. In Connecticut, no. But anyways, but you talk about data, I dated everything on the counter every day, man. I mean, I was taking shots of vodka just to be brave enough to go out in the woods. Really? 2-3 shots just to go out there with what was making the trees break and the noise and the screaming. And I dated everything. But then after a while, they started having fun with me, you know, and saw that I was a good person. And they gave me things and gifts. The one gift they gave me, and I have, and you're talking about, I have a hair that this female gave me. And the hair is a clear tube. It's a clear tube. And I've seen them disappear in front of me. I don't know if you're one of those that think they're just flesh and blood. You're incorrect. They're not just flesh and blood. They have a paranormal side to them that they can disappear. Okay? And she gave me a nice hair. But I'm wondering who I can give it to and be honest about it and come forth without lying. But I have stuff that I've collected, from fingerprints to, you know, castings and all that. And
yeah, I saw that one where you showed me a handprint on your car. That thing was canny looking.
Oh God, yeah. There's some. That's one of several. Some of them was when they put on my truck. They were like fingers like carrots, you know. But the thing is, I don't know who I can trust. I even flew to some of my samples to the University of Idaho, and it was this lady I spoke to, and she was in charge of the Department of Wildlife, and she had DNA of the gray wolf and she was showing me all these things that she had in her refrigerator and all the taxidermy, so on. And I gave some hair samples, and I gave her saliva from these toy ducks that and chickens that I hung in the trees, and the Bigfoot. I'm talking I got on a stepladder and hung these like 9-10 feet up in the air with chimes and bells all around it. And I came back to check it out with the camera, watching, videoing this location where I hung all these. Everyone was torn down on the ground. Everyone was on the ground going, "Oh man, this is great." You know, it worked because I was using wind chimes to track them. Instead of food that I was using in the beginning, I would use these wind chimes, and they'd come and hear the wind chimes. And there they saw these toy ducks and stuff that they use for pet stores for dogs to chase. And they grabbed them and they bit them. I mean, hard plastic, and they bit them, and you could see this blocked teeth there on the wing and then on the butt. And I brought this out to Idaho to this university, and she came back and she told me, "Oh, that was coyote. He found coyote saliva on it, and and I was pissed because I spent a lot of money. Fly out there from here to Dallas, all the way to a beautiful airport in eastern Washington. What's that airport?
Spokane?
Spokane, yes. What a gorgeous, one of my favorites. Nice. Grabbed in there, took it, went out there. Anyways, went to Idaho, and I was just heartbroken. I don't know what the state, whatever Idaho State, maybe they threatened her if they she let them know it was species unknown data.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, what did you expect? I mean, these individuals really are not lined up to do any of that stuff. I mean, even if they find something of interest, there's nothing to compare it to. So it's so difficult. And I'm sorry you spent all that money, but I've been down this road where I've made mistakes, and no offense, but you made a mistake in the fact that you expected something. And the fact is, none of these universities or colleges, none of them are set up to do this sort of research. It's still new. And what you had, I've never had, I completely disagree with you, but respectively about the Sasquatch, and completely respectively, because I've never had that experience where what you've had. So it's a personal, at the end of the day, it's all personable. It's all a personal experience. So I will never take away from somebody telling me a story or whatever they have happened to them, just as much as I hope you don't do that to me. When it comes to that stuff, if you have something of significance, I'll tell you where to send it easily.
I do.
Send it to North Carolina, Darby Orcutt, North Carolina University. They're doing an actual study, one of the best ones I've ever, and I've been down this road, and I've sent samples off, and I've been where they not really looked at them. I've been dismayed. I've been screwed over.
Oh, yeah.
And so you live and learn. So, but Darby Orcutt in North Carolina is.
I know Darby. Is that a scientific lab? Is it or is it a university?
It's a university, and they're taking samples, and they've actually found some pretty cool stuff. Nothing's public yet. The point being is they're building up. When it comes to eDNA, environmental DNA, mitochondrial, nuclear, all that stuff, it costs money.
Oh, yeah.
They've got quite the lab set up. The problem is in the past, and I'm not going to get into what I would love to get into, but I'm not going to do this, is that stuff's been done in the past, and it's not been done right. It's been biased. It's been done wrong. There's not the money there. People are really, these academics are not really looking into it enough because they don't have the money. They don't care.
And they don't have the experience.
It is people like us that keep pushing it, and eventually it gets there. And so I would recommend reaching out to Darby Orcutt. If you have a sample, keep part of your sample, send them part of your sample. Don't send them the whole thing.
Yeah.
Send them part of it. And I guarantee, and I promise you, Darby Orcutt, through that university, we'll get back to you. Whether they give you the answer you want or you believe, I don't know. But they will get back to you on what they find, and it's cost-free. It's a really good study. Cliff Berkman, good friend of mine, is helping that whole thing. And it's one of the best endeavors I've ever seen where it's actually scientifically driven, and there's no egos. There's nobody Bigfoot involved other than Darby who has an interest in this. Everybody else involved is scientists.
Yep.
It's not like the past where you have to find, no offense to Dr. Meldrum, but, Dr. Meldrum was a go-to, but he was biased. He was into Bigfoot. And he had his limitations. This lab does not have his limitations. They're doing the work on it. They're looking at hair. They're looking at saliva. They're looking at handprints. What you can collect from that, send it there. Yeah, definitely send it to Darby Orcutt in Carolina. And you can just find him on Facebook or he's got a website now. So that's where I would send it.
Okay.
And you will eventually get an answer
Yeah,
for sure as to.
I follow Cliff on Instagram.
Now, Shane, what do you think would be the outcome that you would be wanting to see with all the research and stuff like that that you guys are doing and we are doing and all that?
It's research.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just research. I mean, like I said, I'm not a scientist. I have, I'm as good as one can be in my head. In my head as a tracker and an outdoorsman. I spent my lifetime from Scotland to the United States perfecting my skill set. Doesn't make me an expert in anything. I don't have an ego. The outcome? I don't know. Me personally, and you guys can disagree, and that's okay. That's okay. But I'd love to know if these things are on their decline, incline, if they're doing okay. I know they exist. That's not a question for me. That ship has sailed a long time ago. My question is, are they, on their incline or decline? The Tapanuli, and again, if you guys could listen to me here for a second, we can argue about they're apes or humans and all that. That to me doesn't even really matter.
Don't know.
That doesn't even matter to me. I just look at known species like the Tapanuli orangutan, which was discovered in 2017. A new orangutan species discovered. Well, there was a big hurricane, a big weather event that happened out there in Indonesia. And it just basically almost decimated them, wiped them out. They don't even know how many are around anymore, the Tapanuli orangutan. Recently discovered in 2017 that Western science said, no, they weren't there. And the Aborigines, the natives there said, oh, yeah, they're here. And Western science said no. And then they were discovered. And they're like, oh, shoot, we missed this. How could they be there? Well, because you're idiots. But then they had this huge storm over there that decimated the Tapanuli orangutan. And there was only about 100 of them. We're not talking thousands. So who knows what their number is now? So when it comes to Sasquatch, yeah, they're spotted all around the United States and British Columbia and Canada. But me personally talking, I don't know exactly what they eat. I have ideas of what they eat. I listen to Native Americans and all that stuff. I don't know exactly how much terrain they need. I don't know their family units. I don't know a lot about them if I know anything. So I would love to see the research go into into discovery. I'd love to know that they're doing okay, that we need to not log this area, we need not do this or that, build houses here. You look at Mount Rainier up here in Washington, which is an amazing mountain. I have a buddy that lives just below the mountain, and he sent me pictures of us just building houses and logging. Where you used to film elk in big herds, there's houses there now. Are we taking apart their territory to the point where we may help them go extinct? Mm-hmm. I don't know. These are questions I have.
Listen, I'm going to just point out to you. You got to go to my website, okay? Because you talk yourself a tractor. I'm out in the woods all the time with them. I want you to go to my website, Chris Marola, and I'm going to show you. Go on YouTube. And I'll show you what I fed them. Send me a link. I'm going to show you what I feed them. I mean, I fed them everything from pizza to, and it's all documented, brother. Okay? From that to species, some they did like, some they didn't like, fruits that they would like, some they wouldn't eat. I documented it all, man.
But is pizza good for them? Is that going to help them, or is that going to?
You know what? I didn't know that. I mean, honestly, I didn't know that. But
that's like feeding a bear. You're attracting. I'm just saying that these are things I need to know. I need to know. Yes, you can literally. I mean, there was a case up here in Washington where a lady was feeding raccoons, and then she got overtaken by raccoons and eventually attacked by the raccoons because she was feeding them. What is her nutrition? I mean, gifting and all that's good, but are you gifting them or feeding them? If in fact that's happening, are you giving them the right nutrients, or are you making them Are you habituating them, or are they habituating you?
Shane, I'm not going into that detail with you. Okay, I don't know that about that part. All I'm telling you, if you want to see evidence about what they eat from sunflower seeds or whatever, I mean, you're right about the raccoons. That, you know, they can go and eat that too and take it. I know that they left a dead carcass of a raccoon on my cabin with its head missing because it was taking their food. Okay, so I've been there for 12 years interacting. And there's many other people that have even done more than me that have been interacting with these species of forest people. So if you want to know, they're there. And I was blessed to have this invitation to have them. And I put everything. I got over 400 videos on Chris Marola, YouTube. You just got Merola. You want to look at it on YouTube? I got over 400 videos of me, and I'm going again this April. But what I'm trying to say to you, you're asking what they would eat or whatever.
I don't know.
They'll eat it. If they want to connect with you, and you're showing generosity and being kind and so on, you know, they'll let you know what they want to eat. If they have a sweet tooth, if they don't, if they like kettle popcorn, if they don't, you know, apples.
Oh yeah, but is that good for them?
No,
is that good for them?
I don't know.
That's
Is
like
it bad for them?
that's like asking, is sugar good for us? No, it's not, because sugar, believe it or not, sugar is bad for us. Sugar is a feeder into cancer, and that's something I try to restrain from. Trust me on that. I use something called allulose. Allulose is made from a plant. It's not made from the sugar cane. The only other sweetener I like is honey, and honey's all natural, and it's better for you than regular sugar is. But a Bigfoot is like a human being. We're picky, and I'm pretty sure a Bigfoot's picky just as well.
Oh, yeah, I leave them a jar of peanut butter. They would come over there, and I let it loose on the top. They can do that. And the same with the top of water. Let them over there if they want to drink the bottled water. You know, I mean, if they want to stick their fingers in it, I got pictures of it there, and thumb indentations on the jars of peanut butter, the plastic ones. If they stick their fingers in there and they eat it, they eat what they want. I mean, I just know that you can make friends with food, no matter where you go.
But are you helping? So, and I'm not doubting this stuff. I have questions about it. Sure.
Are you helping?
But are you helping to their demise?
Are you helping them with their health? I think is what he's asking.
Well, all I can say is, you know, they come and visit me when I go out there camping in my tent. I'm going out in April, and the little ones that are now big, they show up. I don't see any ill effects. You know, Shane, it could be something that
something to think about.
You know, maybe I'm not doing right, but I only give them what I eat, and if they want it, they certainly can have it. If they decide they don't, they leave it. They don't touch it. They just and that's what I put on the paper plates. You'll see if you look at my channel. I put them on paper plates.
Now,
and they pick what they want.
Right now, personally, myself. I had another relationship I was with when I lived up in Oroville, California. And I don't like going to the store. I don't like buying cookies and stuff like that in the store. I'd rather stay at home and make my own by using coconut flour and a bunch of other stuff. I believe in health and nutrition and everything else. And I make homemade cakes by using all natural ingredients and everything else. The girlfriend I was with back in, I think it was 2008, we went up to a place in Oroville, California. I can't remember the name. I was way up by Berry Creek, California. Is a mountain range. They give it a sort of a name. I keep forgetting the name of the place. And we were up there, and me and her both saw this. It looked like a giant hairy creature, or Bigfoot, or whatever you want to call it. We could see it trying to hide behind this small, skinny-ass tree, but you could see the fur on both sides of the tree. And I thought, well, you know something? Just for the heck of it, I made some homemade oatmeal raisin cookies. And I was using just regular oatmeal and regular raisins. And I put a bunch of bags, or not bags, but a bunch of cookies on this stump right where this thing was standing at. And we left, we took off. The next day we came back, the cookies were gone, but there was a stack of rocks sitting on top of the stump. And I'm thinking, well, I left it a gift and it left me a gift. That's cool.
Well, I was going to make a little thought here. You're saying that what Chris puts out for the Sasquatches is probably not a healthy alternative to what should be put out, but is it also in the same aspect when a Squatch raids somebody's camp and eats the food out of their coolers and stuff like that? Is that healthy?
No, just like a black bear. There was a black bear up in my neck of the woods where I lived that people, it would raid the chicken feed and all that stuff, and he got so fat that he couldn't move around, and he got shot. Somebody shot him and harvested him, and it was very unfortunate. He was just I would call him an urban, like I don't hunt urban deer. I'm a hunter. I don't hunt urban deer that hang around my property because they're right there, and they eat the apples off my trees and stuff. I wouldn't shoot a black bear unless it was, a bad black bear. Yeah, nuisance black bear. But when you habituate something and it becomes, it just expects it, you have to expect that it's going to be a trouble, whatever it is.
I remember
that food to be there.
Yeah, I remember a story about a lady that was up in Northern California. I think it was right where Bob Smallsback used to live at before he moved to Brookings, Oregon. He used to tell me about this lady that used to go out her back door and feed these, or give these Bigfoots food almost on a daily basis. And I'm like, wow, well, how the hell could she afford that kind of money just to give these people, these hairy people, Bigfoot? But she did it on a daily basis or nightly basis. So I don't know, anything's possible. But she was giving them breads, she was giving them venison and a bunch of other stuff. Now I can see venison being an alternative to beef, because actually venison is better for you than eating beef. There's no chemicals or nothing in it. And
that's all I eat.
Bananas, they won't touch bananas for some strange reason. And the only thing I can think of is because they won't touch bananas. Bananas aren't really good for you at all. I mean, if you do the research on bananas, yes, bananas have potassium in it. But when it comes to your prostate, they're unhealthy to beat hell.
Bananas are unhealthy for prostate?
Oh, yeah, it makes your prostate enlarge. You didn't know that?
Sorry, I didn't.
No, I won't touch banana. Hell no. The only thing I take is all natural. I take turmeric coumarin, which is like 5,000 milligrams. It's got black pepper in it, and it helps it absorb into your body, and it gets rid of arthritis and everything else. When I'm out in the woods, I like getting those, what do you call them? It's a type of a mushroom that grows on the side of a tree. I think they're called chanterelles. Yeah, chanterelles are good for you.
Well, no, yeah, chanterelles grow on the ground. You're probably talking about either chicken of the woods or something of that nature.
Actually, well, it's a chanterelle. It grows right next to a tree. But yeah, those things are
I've never tried them.
Good. And then you got pine needles. You can eat pine needles. They won't hurt you. Pine needles actually have vitamin A and vitamin B in them. Pine pollen.
They make it great tea.
Oh, yeah, they do. It tastes like you're drinking, what's that stuff called? They make, what is that stuff?
I've never tried it.
Yeah, oh, yeah, pine needle tea is excellent. It's got all kinds of vitamins in it like you wouldn't believe.
I would kind of think that pine needles and stuff like that would be like drinking pine sol.
That's a first.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Anyhow, and you can take, what is that, pine pollen. Oh, my God. Pine pollen's full of vitamins and nutrients and everything for the body. And on top of it, the more research I did on pine trees, Urukai Indians helped the settlers when they first came over here to get rid of disease by using the pine tree, because the pine tree, believe it or not, almost has the same DNA structure that the human body has.
Hey, I wanted to talk to you about, like, go back to, like, what you were talking about earlier about, leaving food out and stuff like that. If you remember Jim Dawson, their giant, out in Arkansas.
Yeah, I remember him, yeah.
Yeah. So Jim, I remember, he told me that, in the property that he inherited, that at first that he was leaving food out for the creatures. I don't know what type of food it was, but because he noticed them on his property and they were coming around and but basically he, years ago he told me, he's like, that's kind of one thing you don't want to do. Just like Shane brought up earlier about with the case with the raccoons, woman got, couldn't get rid of the raccoons. It was the same thing with him. He's like, it took forever to get those creatures away from his property because they kept coming to look for food. And when they didn't find food, that's when, things around his property started getting broken,
Yeah, you got to be very careful on how you feed these creatures, because if you keep putting food out there every single day, they're going to expect it.
Yeah. So he was saying, his thing was like, anybody wants to get into that research is like, don't be in the habit of leaving food out all the time because they're going to expect it.
Yeah, and I understand. I understand what Shane was
I was all
about.
happy for them to be expected. You know what? I was glad to give it to them. I had no problem. It wasn't like hoarding. Oh boy, I'm not going grocery. You're not getting food today because I didn't see it. No, that wasn't my attitude. My attitude was making friends with them, and where they came to the cabin, crawled on my deck, played games, were putting furniture up against my door when I wanted to get out. No, I had no, do that. What kind of person would do that? That's stupidity.
Yeah. Arrogant. Not necessarily, because you don't know what that food's doing to them. That's in fact happening because, again, I'm not a gifter. I don't do that stuff just like I don't do with black bear or with anything. I don't feed. I have a bird feeder outside, and I expect what I expect. The birds are going to come down there and feed off the bird feeder. I expect that. And then they'll take at it and they'll leave. I live in an area where there's mountain lion, there's bear, there's elk, there's deer, there's, a ton of different animals, raccoons, possums. At the end of the day is if something's eating it, I want to know exactly what it is. And I will put a game camera out there, or I will do something to figure out exactly, or a thermal camera. I want to know what's eating that food. But let alone, I do not want to habitually feed something that knows that, okay, all I need to do is come down here and eat this, especially different types of food and variants of food that I don't know what it's doing to their bodies. Like I said, I got lots of raccoons around here. I got black bear and deer and everything else. Loads of animals. The only thing we don't have up here is that we don't have hogs or anything like that. We have blackbirds. Every time I've placed food out there that's gone missing, and I put a camera out there, it's by a known species. Blackbirds or ravens or crows, black bear, they've taken the food, and it looks mysterious to me, but then I put a camera out there and it's easily explained. My question would be to you is, how do you guys know, absolutely know, that something is taking that food that a Sasquatch is taking that food? How would you know unless you put eyes on it?
Actually,
and maybe you have.
I have eyes on them.
Actually, how I do it, and I've done this several times, there's a place up in Whiskey Town Lake area, like you're going. Have you ever been to Brandy Creek?
Yeah, I've been all around there. My brother went to school in Simpson University.
Right, when you go down into Brandy Creek parking area, there's a dirt road that goes off to your left from the road that you drive into Brandy Creek. It's like a dirt road. You follow that dirt road all the way up into the mountain range, and there's picnic areas up there too. Now, there's been a lot of Sasquatch sightings up there. I mean, a lot. I'll take, what do you call that bread? It's not regular bread. It's round. It's got a hole in the middle of it.
A donut?
Bagel?
No, a bagel. That's it. I take those raisin bagels up there with me, okay? And I'll get where there's a tree at, and I'm 7'4", so I'll get up as high as I can on that tree, and I'll put it up on a tree limb, and I'll just let it, sit there. And I'll leave. Next following day, I go back up there. It's gone. It's been like halfway eaten. And you look on the ground, and there's this big, giant footprint. And you can tell right off the bat if the footprint's like 16 or 18 inches long, no shoes, you can see the toe prints and everything else. It's a Bigfoot. Now, every once in a while, if I put that up there and there's no footprints, but the thing's on the ground, and I'm a pretty good tracker, I can tell a bear print from a raccoon print. It's not that hard. I mean, I've seen raccoon prints around there. I thought, well, raccoon got to this. But most of the time when I go up and put food up there, I always look at the ground for prints. And if you see a big footprint, you know exactly who got that print.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Yes.
But when I left apples out there, half the time they'd take them, half the time they wouldn't. I left bananas out there, they wouldn't touch them at all. I could figure out why. But they do love fish, and they do like peanut butter. But it's got to be all natural peanut butter with no chemicals or nothing in it, because there is some peanut butters out there that have, what is that stuff? Roundup in it, all that stuff, and that's the type of stuff I try to stay away from. They have walnut butter, which is all natural, and it's good too, but I can't get enough. And when I go getting walnut butter, it's kind of expensive. Usually I have to buy the walnuts, take it home, and make it yourself. But
well, what about almond butter?
Almond butter? I wouldn't touch that stuff with a 10-foot pole.
I used sardines when I was in Florida with the skunk ape to try to see if I could get
sardines are good. They'll eat them. They love fish. They love wild vegetables like they got mustard greens that grow up north. Wild mustard greens are great, but they're a little spicy, but they are great. They're a good source of food.
You know, they would teach me a lesson. Like, I would get my a nail, hammer it in the tree, and I'd put the apple on there, whatever food I'd have, and they would take it off, and then I'd go there and look at the tree with the nail, and they'd bend the nail flat against the tree, telling me they didn't want it in the nail in the fruit. They wanted me to stab it on like a broken on a limb or something that's on the tree. They did not want the metal in the fruit.
Yeah,
and that was crazy because you go there and you go, boy, the nail is just bent right in flat against the tree. They didn't pull it out; they bent it. So I understand. They let you know, Shane, what they want. I mean, regardless if you think that the Milky Way I gave them, they'll eat it or they won't eat it. I would only buy organic fruit. I would go to the organic fruit. I would just buy that. But occasionally, when I would have to go to Aldi's or something, and they'd try fruit there. If they didn't like it, they wouldn't eat it. They'd let me know. They wouldn't bite it and leave it.
They do.
I'm not bagging on you whatsoever.
They do.
What I was saying was basically. Yeah, I'm not bagging on you whatsoever. What I was saying was that do they know what's healthy for them? I mean, like I said before, I can leave a lot of stuff out there and known animals will eat it. Doesn't mean it's good for them. I mean, look at why do they call pandas trash pandas? Because they just eat trash.
Yeah.
Why do bears raid trash cans? I mean, I would assume, and just me again, that. Whether it's Sasquatch or a known animal, they may not know what's good for them. They may like it. They may know what they want.
Really.
I mean, I could look at, and I have friends that work for universities and different zoological places around the country. They can give a gorilla, for example, or regardless of just look at a human. Just look at a human. We know what we like. Doesn't mean it's good for us.
No.
Things lead to cancer and things lead to cholesterol and all this stuff. How would a Sasquatch differentiate human food from something that they like to taste rather than what's good for them? They wouldn't.
Yeah, they
wouldn't.
Nope. I understand where he's coming from. Look at what was that? That guy that they had. What was it? Back in the 1920s or 1900s, he was camping out in the wilderness. I forgot the story about it. I can just picture the guy camping. He was doing gold prospecting or something like that. He went to sleep in a sleeping bag, and the Bigfoot picked up the sleeping bag like it was food or something like that, and he carried him off. And he woke up the next morning, and there's these three Bigfoots in front of him, and they're looking at him. I can't remember the name of that guy or the story, but the guy had a cat. Huh?
Ostman?
Yeah, Ostman, that's it. He had a can of snuff in his hand. He put a little pinch of snuff in his mouth, and the Bigfoot thought it was food. So the Bigfoot took the can of snuff and went to eat it, and when he did, the Bigfoot started to choke on it. So he went down to the river to get some water, and when he did that, Ostman took off.
Yeah, Albert Ostman, 1924, the same time as the Ape Canyon event.
Yeah.
Albert Ostman, and he had a can of chew, which that's what helped him escape, is that the male Sasquatch apparently ate the chew and was struggling with it, and that's when he knew it was his time to get out of there.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
Yeah, but again, if that story's true, which I tend to believe it was.
I kind of do too, because who in their own right mind would put that chew in his mouth and eat it and swallow it? I'd kind of gag on that.
Yeah, but what does that tell you then? Is that it didn't recognize what that chew was. It just seemed appealing to it, and something that Albert was eating or chewing. The Sasquatch would assume it was eating, but Albert was just chewing it and spitting it out, not swallowing it.
Yeah.
They associated him putting the chew in his mouth as in eating it.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And
that I believe it's true as well, because from what I understand, after he came back, I think it was like within 30 days, like he had all his hair on his head was white, and he wasn't that old, but I know when he came back, it was like a ridiculously short amount of time, his whole hair went white.
I don't remember. That could be true. I don't remember. I just remember the story from 1924, which was really funny to me because that's the same year as the Ape Canyon stuff that happened up in Mount St. Helens. And this guy, he was in British Columbia. And what I found fascinating about that whole story was just his description of the Sasquatch and where it took him in this valley, and it carried him from a long ways. But his description of the Sasquatch at that time was pretty profound. Though he relayed the story on many years later, the conical head shape and all that, and the family unit and where it took him. It was fascinating, and that there was, basically, as he described, a kind of like a father unit, a mother unit, and two siblings, like a male and a female juvenile.
Yeah.
And where was that if you look into the details, you get past the story, but look into the details of the story. It's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah, it truly is.
Well,
Anthony, my hair is all white, Anthony.
Yeah, I could tell why yours is all white. You've been looking at all those cheerleaders.
Man, I'm telling you. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Being up in the mountains with them, it went white, man. I'm all white. Not gray. I'm white.
Well,
I thought it was it did that to you.
It could be. I don't know, man. But it did. I don't know. Maybe it was the shots of vodka that I was running out in the woods trying to be brave. But it's all white. No question.
I hate to break up the party, but it's that time of evening again. Thank you for coming on to the show. Your guest, man. And I do know who he is. Yep. I do know he follows me. I just didn't recognize the name until I'm sitting back thinking about it, and I think, oh, yeah, I've heard of this guy before. Now I know. Hey, anyhow, thank you for coming on, Shane. Glad to have you.
Now,
thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Gentle Giant, and this is the Bigfoot Radio for this week. And we would like you all to tune in next week for some more Bigfoot Radio and all of us Bigfoot Radio Network. We would also like to thank our guests for joining in on the discussion tonight on this talk show. And we would also like to thank you, our listeners, for sharing our adventures with us. Join us again next Friday evening for another exciting hour of Bigfoot Radio with the Bigfoot research teams from across the country. And we would also especially like to thank our listeners. Until then, this is the Gentle Giant saying good night, be good, be safe, and we will see you here again next week. Until then, keep Bigfoot live and keep Bigfooting. See you all again next week. Bye-bye, and have a nice night.
Just like a man, while keeping outside. What he is may be unknown, but there's one thing I know. He's the keeper of the mountain, and all he wants is just left alone.
This session is no longer being recorded.
Hey, Shane, if you're still
And
on
now
here,
you can
hold
come on
on.
and say whatever you want. Shane, I think, dropped off.
Oh, shit. I was going to tell him to hold on until after the show.
You did a good job, Bruce.
Yeah,
You did a
you
good
did a
job, Bruce.
damn good job, Snake. Man, about time you did something right.
Hey, last time I did a good job was when the She Squatchers came on the show.
Yeah, when the She Squatchers came on the show, you were just trying to flirt.
Oh,
No, that was somebody else.
Wasn't me.
No, hey, when the She Squatchers were here in Virginia, when they was one of those Bigfoot conferences here in Virginia, the She Squatchers were there. One of them was friend with me and my friend. You know, was it Jen?
But, huh? Oh,
I can't remember, but one of them, she was just like quiet and flirting. But the other one will flat out tell you, hey, I'm a flirt. So she was flirting with everybody. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you didn't know I knew him too, did you, Steve?
do what? No, I had no clue. I know who Shane was, but I couldn't remember. And then when I saw that last name, I thought, wait a minute, I think I do know him. He hung around with Bob Gimlin a lot.
I didn't know that Meldrum died.
No, I didn't know Meldrum
Yeah.
died either.
Yeah, he died a couple of months ago, and he was supposed to be on that Bigfoot cruise with the one from Expedition Bigfoot, that doctor, that female, I forgot her name, Maria.